I hope you all have a lovely weekend, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, here we go.
Ready? I love to read for pleasure, and I've been like this for as long as I can remember. My parents, when I was little, were constantly reading to me out loud, and even before I could actually read a book for myself, I had listened to countless stories from Harry Potter and the Chronicles of Narnia. So as I grew up, I was constantly reading for fun. I followed Frodo Baggins in his quest to vanquish the evil Sauron in Lord of the Rings. I was enchanted by stories of gods and mortals in Homer's The Iliad. And I was amazed by, initially actually a little bored, and then amazed by the struggle between a gigantic fish and an old Cuban fisherman in Ernest Hemingway's The Old Man and the Sea. I kind of carried a book with me wherever I went. Like when I was little, even when I went to go sleep over at a friend's house, I would usually have a book with me. And I just kind of assumed that everyone else was like me and that they really loved to read. During elementary school and middle school, this assumption wasn't really challenged, but when I got to high school, I started to realize that some people didn't really like to read as much as me, especially like in English class. A lot of people would complain about, how much homework we had to do, like how much reading homework we had to do, or that the books were really boring, or just that they didn't even like to read at all. Throughout high school, I learned that, contrary to my beliefs, not as many people really like to read for fun as I thought. And the same has been kind of true in college. Like I don't really see my roommates or my neighbors reading for pleasure in their spare time all that much. So it got me wondering a little bit, like, was I different because I love to read? And yeah, I actually was. According to Alison Flood in her 2015 article, Sharp Decline in Children Reading for Pleasure in The Guardian, only 48% of American adults regularly read for pleasure, as opposed to well over 50% who did so about a decade ago. And this amazed me, right? I was, also in the same study, they found that the worst decline in reading was among younger people. And as explained by Christina Clark in her 2006 article, Reading for Pleasure, a Research Overview, the percentage of 17-year-olds who do not read at all for pleasure has doubled in the past 20 years. When you think about it, it kind of makes sense though, right? Like, a while ago, if you were bored, you'd go, you'd play outside, you'd read a good book, but now we have so many things like TV, computers, phones, that we can go on when we're bored instead of doing something like reading a book. So is this bad? Like, how much can reading for pleasure really do for us? Well, it turns out that as reading has declined, some pretty scary statistics have actually come up. As found by Linda Scott in her 2016 article, Promoting Reading Skills or Wasting Time, more than 20% of adults read at or below a 5th grade level, which is far below the level needed to earn a living wage. So basically, based on these adults' reading ability, they should not be able to get a good enough job to earn enough money to have a comfortable living. Also, according to Sarah Sullivan in her 2007 report, To Read, Not to Read, 50% of Americans aged 16 to 32 are unable to read an 8th grade level book. So an example of an 8th grade level book would be The Hunger Games. So I think this is pretty crazy that one out of 2 people aged 16 to 32 in our country would not be able to fully read and understand The Hunger Games, which is pretty insane to me. Another big problem with the decline in reading is the decline in reading comprehension. As explained by Diana Mitchell in her 2001 article, Young Adult Literature and the English Teacher, reading is more of a two-way thing than many people think. It's sort of a dialogue between, obviously, the author narrates, and then the reader, they kind of internalize what they read, they ask questions about it, and then they come to their own conclusions, and then the author answers their questions, and this cycle is kind of perpetuated. So these readers learn reading comprehension, which is obviously understanding what they read, but it's also being able to understand it and then question it and then search for their own answers and come to their own opinions. And this is really important in today's day and age because we're faced with a constant flow of information. People are always trying to advertise to us, persuade to us, convince us we should buy this product, we should vote for this person. So it's really imperative to be able to understand the information we're coming across and question it for ourselves. So the good thing is, it's never too late to start reading as a good habit. Although obviously younger is better, you continue to learn throughout your entire life, so you could start really whenever you want. According to Alice Sullivan in her 2015 article, The Lifelong Benefits of Reading for Pleasure, basically they conducted a study where they took a group of 16 to 42-year-olds who didn't really read very much, and they had them read 75 minutes a week for a whole year, and then they tested their vocabulary strength before and after that year, and they found immense gains in vocabulary regardless of age. So it's really a simple fix. All you have to do is read more. There's interesting literature for everyone. So even if you think that reading is boring, you're not really into it, like whatever you're interested in, you'll definitely be able to find good literature for that. So back to the reading comprehension thing. Imagine this whole ordeal of fake news, right? So imagine if more people read for pleasure, they'd have much better reading comprehension, and people would not just accept things at face value. People would learn to question the info they come across and then search for their own answers and come to their own conclusions instead of just believing what they're told. So like I said before, really to be able to get better reading comprehension and fix things like this whole fake news ordeal, all you have to do is read for maybe 10 minutes a day. Like me, I like to read, but sometimes I'm much too busy to read during the day, so I just read like 10 minutes before I go to sleep, and it's really quite relaxing and peaceful and a good escape from a busy day. But if relaxation isn't enough of a benefit for you, there are actually many other benefits as well. As explained by Marcia Rudman in her 1984 book, Children's Literature as an Issues Approach, many people who read for enjoyment show greater empathy for others. They develop better critical thinking and imagination skills, and it also helps reduce symptoms of stress and improve communication between parents and children. Also, according to Melissa Farrell in her 2012 book, Reading Assessment, Linking Language, Literacy, and Cognition, the more people read, the better their vocabulary becomes, and there is a strong correlation between strengthened vocabulary and higher wages earned later in life. So like I said, to get these benefits, all you really have to do is read about 10 minutes or so a day. And you really might as well give it a try, right? Like 10 minutes a day is not that much to spend doing something. And trust me, like finding a great book is really amazing. There's no other feeling like being so engaged with a story that you don't want to put it down. And so if you guys are not really into reading and have never had that experience, I would really encourage you to pick up a book and pick up a good book, and hopefully you guys can have the same great experiences that I've had. Thank you.